I was asked to do a price breakdown on my ZF-5 swap, so let's get down to business. To start, we obviously need a ZF-5 transmission. There are multiple variants, but for the sake of simplicity, all of the Ford modular V8s use the same bell housing, and all modular ZF-5s have the S47 internals. So it shouldn't matter as long as you find a modular version. I found mine on Facebook Marketplace in perfect condition for $1,500 with just over 100K miles. It was sold with the transfer case and all equipment, but I didn't use anything outside of the transmission itself. Now, there are some things to look for when searching or inspecting a ZF-5 before you buy. They are notorious for breaking the bunny ears off the crossmember mount, and the bell housings like to crack, so you might find some that have been welded previously. Other than that, it's like most other standard transmissions. Though can't really tell if the internals or synchronizers are bad without removing the internals. So good luck picking. Once you have found the right one for you, you'll need some equipment to install with your transmission. These transmissions come from F250, F350, and Excursion models, not F150s, so we will take this into consideration before putting parts into the cart. Lucky for you, I've already put together a parts list for your 5.4 ZF-5 build. To start, you'll need a clutch kit. I recommend the F250 Luke kit I ordered from rockauto.com. The clutch kit comes with a new throwout bearing, a pilot bearing, and an alignment tool. I also ordered the F250 Luke flywheel to match it. Next, you'll need a master and slave cylinder assembly. Again, I'm using the F250 assembly instead of the F150 because of the requirements to properly work the clutch. You'll also need to order an F150 master cylinder. However, the only thing you'll be using is the master rod. Next, you'll need to go dig the pick and pull for a few things. You'll need a shifter and boot from a 99 to 02 F250 if your transmission didn't come with one like mine, and the clutch brake pedal assembly from an F150. Now that we have gotten all of the parts required for the swap out of the way, I'll go into a brief overview of how the swap goes down. Stay tuned though, because I'm not done with the overall cost just yet. Step 1. Cut or remove the exhaust crossover. This depends on setup, but I had to cut mine out to make way for the swap, so this will add to the cost later. Step 2. Lock the truck into 4x4, then unhook your battery and remove the starter. Step 3. Chock the vehicle to keep it from moving, and jack the front of the vehicle as high as you can. Step 4. Remove both the front and rear drive shafts. You can lock the front axle by pushing the vacuum actuator on the front axle in and out, locking and unlocking the front drive line to help with removing the front drive shaft bolts. Step 5. Unbolt and remove the transfer case. This part will depend on whether you have an electronic or standard transfer case. I have electric, so I just unplugged mine and dropped it. Step 6. Place transmission jack under the transmission for support and remove the crossmember from the truck. Step 7. Remove the rubber plug from the driver's side of the engine block to gain access to the converter bolts. You'll need to rotate the crankshaft from the front of the engine to access and remove them all. Step 8. Unclip the shifter cable from the gear selector on the driver's side of the transmission and unplug all electrical connections. Step 9. You can unbolt the transmission cooler lines if you would like, but I just cut and crimped mine to make the process faster. You won't need them for the ZF-5 anyway. Finally, Step 10. The transmission bolts. The bottom and side ones are easy to access and remove, but the top ones will require special attention. Do the bottom ones last, as you'll need them to hold and jack the transmission back up after removing the top bolts. To access the top bolts, you will need to slowly lower the tail end of the transmission as low as it can go. I recommend using an U-joint right behind the socket and a few long extensions. You can jack the front of the motor up from the crank pulley as well to aid in the process, but don't force it. Step 11. I recommend a friend to aid you just in case, so that you don't turn into a gym bro with no spotter if the trans slips in an unexpected way. Go ahead and drop the transmission. With the torque converter unbolted, it should drop relatively straight down with some slight nudging to get the alignment dowels out. Now your transmission is out. You're not even halfway there yet, Loyal, you thought. Now you can crawl your aching body under the truck to conduct Step 12, removing the flex plate. Step 13. Install your pilot bearing into the rear of the crankshaft, making sure it seats evenly. Step 14. Install your new flywheel. I reused the original flex plate bolts for this, since the new flywheel didn't include any hardware. Torque to spec in a star pattern and use blue Loctite. Step 15. You'll need to pick up some new grade 8 or higher hardware to install your new clutch and pressure plate. I used F150 25mm long bolts for this. Using the provided alignment tool, install and torque to spec in a star pattern using blue Loctite. Step 16. You'll need to measure the distance between your bell housing and the shifter tower in order to get an accurate measurement for cutting a hole in your floor pan where the new shifter will sit. Take your time and measure twice, cut once. No take-see back-sees after this. Step 17. Jack the new transmission into place and remove the alignment tool from the clutch assembly. Grease the tip of your input shaft, pun intended, and slip the new transmission on. You will need to jack the front of the engine at the crank enough to make this happen, but it should go on without much issue. Step 18. Install the transmission bolts and jack the trans and engine back up into place. Step 19. Install your cross member at the furthest back point it will go and reinstall the trans mount. This is the point some of you might differ from me, as I used a fabricated brace that goes in between the tail housing of the trans and the transfer case as a replacement for my mount ears since they were broken off. Step 20. Reinstall the transfer case and the drive shafts the same way we took them out earlier. There should still be around 1 inch of drive shaft yoke left at the tail of the transfer case. Step 21. Take the gear selector switch off of the old automatic transmission and lock it into either neutral, which is marked, or park, which is indicated in the picture. Step 22. Reinstall the transfer case electrical connections and the old gear selector switch. You'll need this for stop, start, and 4WD functions if you have an electrical transfer case like me. The others won't matter as they work auto-trans functions. Step 23. Remove the old brake pedal assembly from inside the vehicle and remove the firewall plugs for the old shifter cable and where your new master cylinder will sit. This plug should be right above your accelerator pedal mount. Step 24. Installing the new pedal assembly. Cut off the clutch pedal stopper from the bracket or you won't have enough travel for the F150 clutch. You'll need to pull your brake booster out of the firewall and unbolt your steering shaft under the dash in order to clear the pedal bracket. Step 25. After bolting the pedal assembly, route and install the pre-filled master slave assembly into the firewall and onto the transmission. Final step. Install starter and your shifter and go over everything to make sure you didn't forget to torque anything down. Reconnect your battery and check or change your driveline fluids. The trans takes 3.5 to 4 quarts of Mercon VATF, and the transfer case uses 2 quarts of XL12 transfer case fluid. Congratulations! You have successfully installed your new ZF-5 4x4 into your 10th gen F150. Though slightly incomplete, this should get it running and driving. If your truck uses an electronic transfer case like mine, your speedometer and odometer will not work due to the lack of a speed sensor on the ZF-5. I will get into making that work in a separate video. For now, I've been using my phone as a GPS speedometer and odometer. We will also need to wire in our reverse lights, which I'll cover in a later video as well. With all of that out of the way, we can now break down the full cost with the exemption of the speedometer issue. My trans cost me $1,500, my clutch kit cost me $260. My flywheel cost me $100. The master and slave assembly cost me $120. The junkyard pedals and shifter knob cost me $50. The fluids cost me an additional $85. The transmission brace cost me $150. Having my exhaust put back in by my local shop cost me $85. Now, to help offset the full cost, we have to subtract the sale of the auto that was built before this swap. That trans was sold for $1,200 with only 3,600 miles on the rebuild, including the new converter and flex plate. So in total, this cost me a staggering $1,065 in total. Thanks for watching.
Safe to say I'm the biggest, the largest. Been stepping up shit since my mama stayed in them apartments. Regardless, my daddy told me keep the heat.